Hey guys, it's Kingdom Orange 2 here, and welcome back to my channel. Next on the list of spell rankings is Flora, the Fairy of Nature. And again, just like Bloom and Stella, Flora spells will be divided into 3 categories, and I'll omit some that don't fit certain criteria. So if you came here for spells from the comics, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Anyways, with all that out of the way, let's get to the rankings. Attacks. Number 37 is Power of Seasons. This is a disgrace for a Charmix spell. What's even more of a shame is that this spell's name is actually really awesome, but where are the seasons? Number 36 is Floral Whirlpool. There's a lot of spells where Flora creates a vortex, so there's no reason why we don't actually have a Floral Whirlpool with this spell. Number 35 is Vine Tie. The name Vine Tie is just way too on the nose. We also don't even see Flora actually cast this spell because of the way the shots were set up. Number 34 is Liana's Chain. I don't know who Liana is, and this is just another one of Flora's spells where she creates magic vines. But buckle up, because we have about 500 more of them. Number 33 is Water Lily Whirlpool. Again, just like Floral Whirlpool, Flora doesn't actually make a whirlpool with this attack. However, I rank this spell higher because I kind of like the butterfly effect it creates once it hits the target. Number 32 is Lotus Flower. The name Lotus Flower is really beautiful, so I'm disappointed that you hardly see this spell. Like, it would have been nice if the beam of light Flora created looked similar to a lotus flower. Number 31 is Energy of Mother Earth. Again, it's another beautiful spell name, but creating large vines and a pillar of stones isn't that interesting to me. Number 30 is Magic Winding Ivy. I really like the way the spell's sequence is animated because the ivy does sort of wind out of the floor, but it's an effect that I've seen before and we'll for sure see again. Number 29 is Dancing Whirl. This spell had so much potential with a name like Dancing Whirl. I like how Flora blows the attack out of her hands, but the one time she uses it, the sequence is too short and hard to see. Number 28 is Arms of the Earth. With the name like Arms of the Earth, I wish the roots Flora created at least formed some sort of giant hands. That would have actually been really cool. Number 27 is Breath of Linfia. The Winx really need to stop disappointing their planets by having these atrocious and boring looking spells named after them. Number 26 is Earth Cage. I really enjoy the name of this spell, but if Flora didn't already trap her enemies like 500 other times with roots, maybe Earth Cage could have been ranked higher. Number 25 is Green Luxuriant Ivy / Luxuriant Ivy. So this spell will often look a tad different depending on when it's used. However, most of the time, it's just these giant thorns that Flora uses to tie around the enemy. I do like the way Green Luxuriant Ivy sounds, though. Number 24 is Constricting Vines. This spell is very similar to many of the other attacks ranked below it, but what I like the most about Constricting Vines is that these seem to be the strongest and toughest to get out of. Number 23 is Evergreen Ray. Part of me wants to say that I really like this spell because the name is pretty good and I always love attacks from the Mythic Swans. However, Evergreen Ray kind of reminds me of like a fart cloud. I don't even really know how else to explain it. Number 22 is Breath of Spring. Usually I sort of like these Butterflix attack spells that add the butterflies to the beams of light, but honestly with Breath of Spring, I feel like it doesn't look that good. Also, Breath of Spring looks like a crappier version of a lot of the other attacks I will get to later in this video. Number 21 is Winter Rose. Okay, so Winter Rose is probably the worst Winx spell that I have ever ranked. I almost didn't even want to include it. Basically, Winter Rose has like 3 or 4 different versions, and sometimes Winter Rose is just another boring green shield, and other times it creates green vines, but each of those green vines look different. Most of the time, however, Winter Rose creates these interesting looking red vines, so that's why I ranked it in this spot. But honestly, I've never seen the Winx animators mess up a spell this badly. Number 20 is Wrapping Ivy. So most of the time when Flora uses an attack spell that creates roots or vines, the roots or vines look almost exactly the same. However, with Wrapping Ivy, we finally get to see a plant attack that's unique. Also, Wrapping Ivy actually uses an ivy plant. I don't know what plant Green Luxuriant Ivy is supposed to be. Number 19 is Untamable Nature. The spell name is actually perfect, and I really like how the vines Flora creates with it sort of fit the winter theme of Lovix. But it's just another vine attack, and I wish the plants were just a bit more wild. Number 18 is Magical Vine Grab. The name Magical Vine Grab isn't winning any points in the creativity contest. However, I really like how the vines it creates sort of have this dehydrated look to them. Number 17 is Summer Thunder. This spell is a bit confusing because oftentimes it will create a ball of light that hits the enemy, and sometimes once it hits the enemy with the ball of light, it will also grow vines. The attack that's right above this one is very similar to it though, and just much better executed. Number 16 is Autumn Wind. Autumn Wind is another attack that doesn't live up to its potential, but is almost there. First of all, the ray of light it creates should have been orange and brown, because did we really need another green spell? But I will give it points because I like the look of the autumn leaf effect it creates once it blasts its target, and that's why I also ranked it higher than Summer Thunder. Number 15 is Green Growth. Green Growth sounds like something you should get tested for at a clinic, but I will say that I think the vines it creates are some of the best out of Flora's attacks. Also, I like how sometimes Flora will cast this spell out of both of her hands. It adds to the drama. Number 14 is Evergreen Blow. This is the better mythic spell with the word evergreen in it. I love the name Evergreen Blow, and I like how dramatically Flora will hurl this attack from her wand. Number 13 is Fall Vortex. So this is the first of many spells on this list where Flora creates these beautiful spirals out of flowers and petals. I would say Fall Vortex is pretty, but probably the least interesting one. Also, with a name like Fall Vortex, it would have been nice to see some fall colors incorporated into the spell's design. Number 12 is Spring Shower. Okay, so this might be a bit dumb, but compared to Flora's other spells in which she creates a vortex, I feel like Spring Shower is the best animated one. This sounds kind of weird, but I really like how fast the petals swirl around as Flora casts it, and I also enjoy how Spring Shower has a purifying effect on the trees. However, this spell's design is not unique at all, so I felt like I couldn't place it any higher on this list. Number 11 is Lilac Vortex / Magical Vine Net. So the design of Lilac Vortex is pretty similar to Spring Shower, but overall, I still think this is the better attack spell. My only complaint though would be that for a spell named Lilac Vortex, I don't know why there isn't more of a purple look to it. Number 10 is Nature Punch. Usually, I actually really love these Cyranix kick and punch spells, and since the idea is still so great, it's high on the list. However, I hate the way that Flora uses Nature Punch. Instead of Flora actually punching the mutants or sending a shockwave that hits them, this spell is just a boring stream of light. Number 9 is Chlorophyll Bolts. I really enjoy the uniqueness of the name Chlorophyll Bolts. Also, I like when the Winx shoot spells out of both of their hands. It adds to the drama for me. However, I think this attack could have been 100 times better if Flora actually threw it like a bolt instead of just a power stream. Number 8 is Glitter Dust. The name Glitter Dust is so beautiful. I absolutely love when Flora blows spells out of her hands. It's such a great sight to see. My only complaint though would be that the vines it creates are kinda generic looking, so it brings the spell a bit down. Number 7 is Golden Pollen. I don't actually think this spell's name is as good as Glitter Dust. However, I ranked it higher because the vines it creates are much more attractive, and I like how they tighten around Nut and then proceed to fling him away. Number 6 is Flowers of the Wind. The name is stellar, and the sequence of Flora using it is really beautiful. I enjoy watching as Flora spins around, breathing these flowers that eventually grow into roots and attack the ice monsters. Usually I would hate on this spell because I'm tired of seeing these same looking vines over and over again, but since I love the choreography of this scene so much, I'll agree to cut it some slack. Number 5 is Petal Hurricane. Petal Hurricane isn't just a great name for an attack spell, but perfect for this specific attack. I absolutely love the idea of hurting an enemy with a swarm of petals, and the vortex of pink and green petals Flora creates in this spell are very, very beautiful, and easy to see, unlike a lot of other attacks on this list. Number 4 is Flower Twister. This attack is a 10 out of 10 in both name and design. Flower Twister is one of the first vortexes Flora uses in the show, and overall the best looking one. I really enjoy the design of the sunflowers, and it's nice to see something different other than just petals and leaves. I just wish we could have seen Flora use Flower Twister more often in the show. Number 3 is Venus Gobbler. I haven't really enjoyed most of Flora's spells in which she uses plants to attack an enemy. They're all just way too similar to each other. However, the pure rage Flora feels as she makes these Venus flytraps come out of the water and swallow the tricks whole is absolute perfection. I don't think Venus Gobbler would work as well if it was used again, but I'm really just happy to finally see some sort of plant variety. Number 2 is Rain of Petals. So technically you could argue that this is just a Petal Hurricane ripoff. And while yes, I would partially agree with that statement, Rain of Petals is just overall better. Usually when Rainbow animates these spells, they have the flowers or petals circle around a stream of light. However, with Rain of Petals, they individually drew each petal in the attack. While that may have taken them way longer to animate, overall, I think the look of it just makes the spell really stand out and be beautiful. Number 1 is Nature Kick. So I know how I complained about Flora's Punch spell, but Flora's Kick spell is perfection. It's a bit rare for Flora to use such aggression with her attacks, so seeing Flora essentially roundhouse swing her enemies is such a fun sight to watch. I would even argue that this is the best use of the Sirenix kick spells too. Defense. Number 9 is Spring Shield. What places this defense spell in last place for me is simply due to the fact that we hardly see this shield in the show. Also, there's like 3 other shields with the word spring in them that are just much better. Number 8 is Spring Banner. This shield is just another boring dome. Also, what does this spell have to do with a banner? Number 7 is Root of All Good. You know, I would want to rank this shield high because I really like the idea of Flora protecting herself with vines. Unfortunately though, Flora does this way too many times with her other attack spells, which takes away a lot of the uniqueness of this shield. Number 6 is Enchanted Nymph. I really love the way Flora glides her finger across the floor to create this shield. However, this defense spell is just more green vines, and I actually find the name Enchanted Nymph to be a bit awkward sounding. Number 5 is Flowering Shell. I absolutely hate the name Flowering Shell. It sounds like the name of a chocolate egg. But I'll give this defense spell some credit because it's versatile, as Flora can use it to shield herself or others. Number 4 is Blanket of Leaves. I really like the colors and shape of this shield as well as its name. My main issue though is that I just don't find this shield to be super exciting. Like, why is it called Blanket of Leaves if we don't actually see any leaves? Number 3 is Gaia's Defense. In all honesty, I actually think this shield is really boring looking. However, I'm such a huge fan of Greek mythology, and the fact that they named the shield after the goddess of earth makes me excuse its uninteresting appearance. Number 2 is Spring Ring. I don't really care for the name Spring Ring, but I don't really have any other complaints about this shield. I love its shamrock shape, and I always like when the Winx have these defense spells that look like armor. Number 1 is Aura of Leaves. It's such a shame that this spell only makes one really short appearance because this shield is absolutely perfect. Not only is the name fantastic, but it perfectly fits the use and look of this shield. I also really love how the leaves twirl around as Flora protects herself. This is exactly what Blanket of Leaves should have been, but wasn't. Special. Number 18 is Natural Gate. Lamest spell ever. Flora literally just opens the door to the Althea greenhouse with it. I guess there was no key available that day. Number 17 is Breeze Blast. Another spell we don't need. Also, if Flora wanted to blow the pollen away, it would probably be easier to just use a fan. Number 16 is Return to Nature. I don't understand this spell at all. It's combined with Fairy Dust in Season 3 to turn the tree monster back to normal, but then it's sort of an attack spell in Season 4 that doesn't work. It's just awkward. Number 15 is Glowing Ivy. I really like how the giant beanstalk this spell creates sparkles, but that's about it. Number 14 is Bearing Branches. Out of all of the Winx, this is probably the lamest spell here. Morphix already somewhat has a structure to it, so it almost feels like the writers just threw this spell in because they needed Flora to have something to do. Number 13 is Strength of the Magiwolf. I'll give this spell some credit because I think the name is actually really beautiful, but other than that, I don't think its usage is that interesting. Number 12 is Natural Whisper. You guys know how much I love a good, drawn-out, melodramatic spell sequence, but for me, Natural Whisper feels way too long. I also really don't enjoy any of the scenes of Flora using it. The background music is hideous, and the spell itself doesn't look that great. Number 11 is Life Essence. So Flora uses this spell to thaw things frozen by Icy. I actually enjoy both sequences of Flora casting Life Essence, but I just don't think this is a very useful spell, unless you want to defrost some chicken from the freezer faster. Number 10 is Breath of Nature. I really don't like these special Sophic spells, and I would argue that Flora being the Fairy of Nature actually makes it more difficult for the writers to come up with the perfect spell for her. I think Breath of Nature is a beautiful name, but its effect just isn't that interesting. I almost don't even blame the animators here though. Number 9 is Flower of Syrinx. I really enjoy the scene of Flora casting Flower of Syrinx while in the sky over Paradise Bay. It looks very melodramatic and angelic. However, I feel like Flora's kinda cheating because she uses the breath of the ocean, and I wonder why we never actually see this spell form into the shape of a flower or something. Number 8 is Nature Dust. I love how Flora can just turn fire into petals. This spell would actually be very useful, but I think the writers never let Flora cast it again because they worried it was just like too powerful. Number 7 is Winter's End. Winter's End is such a random spell, but I absolutely love it. I think it's so cool that Flora can just turn Icy's attack into a bunch of golden birds. The thing about this spell is that, similar to Nature's Dust, it's so powerful and effective that maybe the writers didn't want to show it again because they thought it would ruin like future battles. Number 6 is Feast of Nature. I do not care what other people believe. I have always loved Feast of Nature. I think it's so random and unique for Flora to create green clouds that just rain down pieces of food. This spell is practically useless in most situations, but that's something that I'm completely willing to overlook. Number 5 is Voice of the Forest. This is a first of a few of Flora's spells where she uses nature to find out information about someone or something. Voice of the Forest is a great name, but it's the least interesting of the three, as all Flora does is like touch a tree for 3 seconds. Number 4 is Super Pollen. This is the better version of Voice of the Forest. Here the pollen creates a giant arrow that points in the direction of someone. I just really enjoy this sequence and find the ability to be very, very useful. It would be more fun though if the arrow moved as the Winx flew through the forest. Number 3 is Natural Camouflage. This spell itself is pretty simple, as all Flora does is use her mythic swans to disguise herself. However, the name Natural Camouflage is borderline genius, and this ability would be very useful in battle. Unfortunately though, I think this is another situation like Winter's End and Nature Dust, where this special spell is just too useful, so the writers never have Flora use Natural Camouflage again throughout the show. Number 2 is Breath of the World. I would say this is probably the second best special Believing spell after Blooms. I really like Breath of the World and how it gets people to respect nature. I think that's so smart and necessary. I also really enjoy the scene of Flora using it to have that lady respect her plants, especially since Flora's eyes start to glow. Number 1 is Nature Symphony. This is definitely my favorite Flora special spell used in the series. It's very similar to both Super Pollen and Voice of the Forest, where Flora asks nature for information, but overall it's executed much better. You guys have already heard me say this like a million times, but you know how I love a good melodramatic spell sequence, and Nature Symphony doesn't fail to deliver. I like how Flora tells everyone to stand back as these really loud organs begin to play, and Flora looks like she's being possessed. My only complaint though is that I actually think this sequence should have been much longer, because when Flora's done using Nature Symphony, everything just feels a bit abruptly ended. Like maybe the writers thought it would feel awkward if the trees started talking or whatever. If you liked this video today and want to see more content in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you soon. Bye!